Hello and welcome to News, Games, and More. I'm your host, Brian Altano. With me is Jeremy Acevedo.
That's right.
Josh Dew.
Yeah, hello.
And Jonathan the Dornbush.
Hey, man, what's up?
News, Games, and More is our daily... happy 420, everybody. News, Games, and More is our daily news variety show here at IGN. We're going to go through the biggest stories of the day, some weird stories, some fun stories, some cheats and hacks, some good news, some bad news, and just a general, just big pile of fun stuff to get through. How's everybody enjoying 420 so far?
So far, so good, Brian. Thanks for asking.
All right. I feel like I shouldn't have asked anything.
Hey, Brian, happy to be on the show today. Thanks for having me.
It is good to see you.
Yeah.
Josh, did you grow a 420 mustache?
Yeah. This is my mustache. Happy 24.
Happy 24. All right, well, let's get right into it. A fun thing to do on 420 is play video games. And some of you may want to be playing video games on Nintendo Switch, and you're realizing that you can't because Nintendo Switch is basically impossible to find right now. Nintendo Switch Lite seems to be pretty easy to get, but that's the version that's handheld only that you can't connect to your TV. And so people want the real deal. We've covered this story in the past, but just recently, a website named Motherboard did a deep dive on exactly why you can't buy a Nintendo Switch. And it's not just because it's popular and it's sold out everywhere. It's because of terrible robots. Jeremy, tell us about these awful, awful robots that keep buying Nintendo Switches.
So I guess these robots they're like basically set up to automatically buy inventory the second it goes live. So before anybody gets a notification or just kind of like stumbles upon it or searches or looks for it, it buys all the available inventory, and then basically they like flip it to people for a significant markup. So basically these people are shitheads. And these robots are evil and they should be destroyed.
I've battled these robots, these Terminators in the sort of like sneakerhead community. Like when you go to buy shoes, when Nike drops a new pair of shoes or something like that. Back when we had to wear shoes, to leave the house.
I haven't worn shoes in weeks.
Yeah,
I remember them. Yeah, vaguely I remember them.
But yeah, same sort of deal. Is this like, how do you guys feel about this? Like ethically, like, is this something you think should be allowed? Should we have to fight robots for Nintendo Switches?
If this was any other time in history, I would say this is just capitalism at play. But this is a console that's enjoyed by adults and children alike, but especially children, right? And so it just seems like of all the things
you
take out of the hands of somebody and then mark it up. It just seems really cruel. And also, like, listen to this quote from this asshole. The creator of BirdBot, called Nate, spoke to Motherboard saying, "Me and my friends were talking about reselling Nintendo Switches, and at one point my friend nicknamed Bird told me I should make a bot, and so here we are today." That's like how little thought goes into this.
That sounds like a 420 story right there.
Right?
That really does. Yeah.
My buddy Bird told me that I should make a bot to buy Switches, so I made BirdBot.
Now I got 10,000 in my garage. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I mean, this for me, like I've never liked this practice. It always bugs me. I worry now, especially though, what we're going to see when the new consoles get announced and put up for pre-order. Like when the PS5 and the Series X go up at probably 4 a.m. in the morning because retailers hate us. And so what that whole process is going to be like with these things already being kind of created en masse by people.
Yeah, and especially we covered a story a couple times last week about that sort of rumor that PlayStation 5 was going to launch in limited numbers. And if we're already fighting each other for those systems, and now we have to fight robots. I keep calling it robots like I'm 70 years old. Robots on the internet are taking over our job.
Curse you, you damn robots.
It'd be one thing if we were actually fighting the robots. I mean, you could make a spectacle out of that, but
I'd punch a BirdBot in the face for a Nintendo Switch. Are you kidding me?
These robots are cheaters. I don't know if you'd have a chance, man.
It sounds really similar to like concert scalpers, right? Like ticket scalpers. It's like almost exactly the same, and like I don't think ticket scalping has been solved either.
No, I mean they solved it by canceling concerts.
Hey,
there's that.
Nobody gets to go.
Concerts have gotten even worse actually, because Ticketmaster also owns the company that controls the resale market on the tickets that they pretend to sell out of because they give them all to scalpers. So they've kind of got like a really nasty monopoly on the thing. But
about 2 months ago, I gave Ticketmaster like $315 to see Run the Jewels and Rage Against the Machine in Oakland. I think like today. So that concert's not happening, but also they didn't give me my money back, and they won't.
Whoa.
So no, they have to wait for like the show to be like officially canceled, which it's ridiculous. Like very clearly not happening. So yeah, I don't trust that either.
Just tweet at Killer Mike. I'm sure he'll maybe like think about it.
Why does it always seem like this happens to
not today?
Nintendo?
Don't tweet at him.
He's busy today. Why does this always happen to Nintendo? Well, the weird thing about this, specifically, like as a Nintendo fan, is that the Nintendo Switch this time around didn't really feel like it was impossible to get, despite the fact that it was immensely popular. I remember like there were shortages for Wii, there were shortages for DS, even 3DS felt constrained. If you look at the classic NES and the classic Super Nintendo consoles, the mini consoles, those were like impossible to get for months and months and months. I mean, you basically had to watch them pop up in waves. There's a website called BrickSeek, which is originally developed for fans of Lego to track hard to get Lego kits, and then got adapted for pretty much everything, including Amiibo, classic NESs, Star Wars Black Series figures, Marvel Legends, anything like that that sort of like comes in limited supply, sells out really quickly. But Nintendo Switch didn't really have to deal with that too much. Most of the people I know, anecdotally, who wanted to get a Switch got one. And so that's why it was really surprising to me 3 years into the console's life cycle to suddenly have to be dealing with shortages. I was like, this feels really weird for Nintendo to be timing, forced scarcity, especially during a global pandemic. But it turns out it wasn't even them. It was fucking BirdBot.
Well, and we knew there was going to be some level of scarcity because about a month or so ago, Nintendo Japan, like the headquarters, was talking about the fact that due to COVID, there was likely going to be production hardware delays after the wave of Animal Crossing switches. So already we were sort of anticipating probably it being a little hard to find, but the fact that this is an added layer to it as a consumer is a really frustrating thing to have to, keep checking Amazon to see if maybe a Switch pops.
Yeah, there was a story that trickled out, I believe, over the weekend that a buddy of mine, Spawnwave, covered that basically showed this group of people on Reddit that were getting together to purchase all of the sort of like piecemeal manufacturer parts that go into creating a Nintendo Switch and just building them from scratch themselves, like people do with PCs. I don't know what sort of like weird Frankenstein Switch you end up with at the end of all that, but they're doing that to circumvent the fact that you literally can't buy one right now. So we might see this whole like weird cyberpunk aftermarket where people are putting together pieces of fake Switches to sell Nintendo Switches to people who can't buy them. At the end,
out that's not gonna do anything for the parents that are sitting home with like a 7-year-old who's like, I just want to play Animal Crossing. Like, I don't understand why we can't just get a Switch. I'm sitting here all day long. My friends are all playing it, and they're like, I'm sorry, these assholes Nate and Bird have them all stacked up in their garage, so there's nothing I can do about it unless you want me to spend $750.
Yep.
It's like a pandemic profiteer, man. There's got to be a way to like reverse hack them. You know what I mean?
Well, like, it's weird because we've actually seen that happen to an extent. There was that dude who I forget where he lived. He's probably, I forget which state. I have a guess. But they caught him basically Florida.
Oh, okay.
Was he the hand sanitizer guy?
Yeah.
Fire Native was just talking about that on Twitch. What's up, Fire Native?
Yeah, so that guy basically got caught with like one of those like Dexter style, storage units full of hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and Nilla wafers or whatever, like anything that remotely like useful or comforting right now. And people caught him and basically forced him to either give away all the stock or resell it at face value. And so he ended up losing a ton of money. I do like the stories of the sort of like COVID profiteers getting stuff backfired on them. I hope that like somebody can find BirdBot and Nate and put them in a cop car to prison.
Or put them in a cage. How about that?
I don't think it's illegal what they're doing.
Put that bird in a cage.
Put that bird in the cage. But no, I think that guy was caught by the law. I think like the government got involved and were like, "You are illegally price gouging."
Well,
so
hand sanitizer is an essential item, whereas like a Nintendo Switch to us
is also an
but
essential item.
to the government probably isn't.
I mean, I've played like 200 hours of Animal Crossing since this whole thing went down, and I've probably, I don't think I've played 200 hours of hand sanitizer. I mean, there's been a decent amount, definitely more. Hand sanitizer 2020 is definitely getting a lot more play than hand sanitizer 2019. That's for sure. But my Switch is like nonstop. I've been playing this thing. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
It's that or like clean my apartment for the 50th time in 3 days. You know, just pace around endlessly, looking out the window, look through the keyhole. You know, there's a lot of fun games you can play.
If you didn't have one, would you buy it for $750 right now?
No. Are you kidding me?
Somebody's doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like
people that have $750 to spend. Like, I don't have that kind of money.
Well, Josh, I know a way you can get $750. In fact, I know a way you can get $100,000. You just have to be really good at computers. That's right. Riot Games is offering hackers up to $100,000 to expose cheaters in Valorant. There are people using sort of anti-cheat exploits right now, and so anybody you can find that is doing that stuff, and if you can reverse engineer that and hack it, they will pay you a ton of money to basically fix their game for them. Last week, Riot revealed why its new anti-cheat system for Valorant runs all the time on users' PCs, even when the game is not being played. And now, after Riot's Paul Chamberlain, known as Riot Arkham on Reddit, explained why it's important to have the anti-cheat kick in the moment you turn on your PC, the studio developer is offering up a huge bounty for Vanguard exploit reports. So yeah, up to $100,000 for specific bounties have been listed over at HackerOne, a site where companies offer incentives to hackers for exposing security issues in their software. Does this make you guys wish you were smarter?
Yes.
No.
Lots of things do, but I feel like this is only half the story, right? Like half the story is about these bounties that they have to expose the anti-cheat exploits, but the other half of the story is about Riot wanting you to have this anti-cheat system running in the background on your PC all the time, which is
right.
what so many of the comments have really picked up on. Like, which one of these has more weight to it? Like, what's the story there, Jonathan? Do you know much about it?
We haven't been able to get too deep into like the specifics of what that's causing, but that's sort of the story that we've seen happening is that the debate over whether, you know, having this running in the back end of your PC is something you want to risk having all the time and just opening your PC to that. Obviously, people are very protective of their stuff. And so to open the door like this can raise some ethical questions to a lot of people. But as far as we know, it's not doing anything malicious as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, but they're basically, aren't they sort of opening the door to the vampire in a way by inviting in all these like gray hat, red hat hackers and saying like, hey, go crazy. And also, by the way, here's access to some just like software running in the background that a bunch of dummies don't understand, like me.
I think so. I mean, I also feel like this is something that people are only giving the time of day to because they really like Valorant and they mostly like what Riot makes. I feel like if this was like Cliff Bleszinski's Lawbreakers, not to dunk on that old dead ghost, but like people wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, I'll run some software in the back of my computer to play this like this shooter with my seven other people on Earth who are also playing it. Like this is something that people are like if you took one of those popular games on Earth and you mildly inconvenienced me or massively inconvenienced me or my private security in order to let me play it, I don't know how much I'd be willing to give up or not give up. Like if you're like Breath of the Wild 2 comes out tomorrow, but to run it, it takes pictures of you every time you wake up. I'd be like, what time? Like it would be a conversation, you know. I wouldn't just say no because I'd be like, oh, Breath of the Wild 2, but oh, personal privacy.
Do you remember back in the day when people were saying that folks were able to like hack into your Kinect?
Yeah.
And like see what you were doing?
Yeah, that was a big thing, which eventually they didn't have to do because people just would show their penises playing Kinect for free without hackers. In Uno, of all games, a card game for families. Weird.
Reverse. I don't even know what the implication there is. I'm hoping it would apply to something.
I guess you're right though, Brian. Like, if you want to play the game enough, you'll figure it out. I mean, there's been a lot of debate over whether people even want to install like Epic Game Store, let alone software. But then on the other hand, all of us are running like Vortex and stuff on our PCs so that we can download mods easily and all this other kind of crap. So it's not that crazy. I think it just has a lot to do with like Tencent and like, some of the backing companies behind these things, like, put people a little bit at unease. But at the same time, this whole like bounty for cheats and everything, it's not like this isn't extremely common at software companies. Lots of software companies do this. Like even like Facebook and Twitter and stuff, they probably have people like on staff like all the time that basically just sit there and like reverse hackers or whatever.
I remember it was like the Sega challenged people to hack the Dreamcast. They're like, "Oh, you won't be able to hack the Dreamcast. It's unhackable." And it was hacked on the first day. Like people are like, "Oh, is that a challenge? All right, I take it." No, I'm totally with you.
Never say something's unhackable. Like never say that. Never do it.
Well, that's like that was like when people were like, Jeremy, you're old enough to remember infomercials for unbreakable plates. Then you'd go to your friend's house and his mom would have like a Elvis Presley unbreakable plate, and you'd be like, "Yeah, we'll see about that," and just throw it, explodes. But no, I'm totally with you on the sort of nefarious, evil mobile companies that are stealing everybody's information. Like that skews me out. There's also like random little hoops I don't like jumping through when I play video games to begin with. Like I remember when I downloaded Doom on Nintendo Switch, on the first few days before they patched out, you needed a Bethesda.net account to log in. And so it required internet access. I remember I bought the game at IGN and I got on the bus ride home to play it. Doom, which is like a 600-year-old video game that could run on like a Fitbit. And they wouldn't let me play without internet connection. And so I basically had to make a mobile hotspot on my phone to play fucking Doom. Like it was...
Dude, Ubisoft and Bethesda are like always on that. Like every time you buy one of their games, they're like, do you want to get on the Ubisoft service or the Bethesda service? Like, you sure?
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, I'll give you a free thing if you do it. Come on, give me your information. It's like, why do you want it so bad? I already bought the game from you. Leave me alone. Jesus.
Well, they want your home address, and in return they give you like a Raving Rabbids like knee pad that you can wear on like Rainbow Six or whatever. Like it's super weird. It's not a good deal.
It's not great.
That actually reminds me. I just saw this video today about how there's this company that they like employ hackers to help find missing persons. And one of the ways that they like had a hackathon for this sort of thing last, and one of the new ways that they were using to find missing people were like gamer tags and like, I don't know, like gaming profiles and stuff, and they're using that information to help missing people. And I thought that was really cool. And there's that kind of trade, right? Like the more you put yourself out there online and give your information, you're increasing like your viability to get found if you ever go missing. But at the same time, you're really putting yourself out there.
That sounds like it kind of sounds like you work for Tencent and you're like, yeah, I think you should sign up for everything because what if you go missing?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I hope they find all the cheaters in that game. In the meantime,
and all the missing people.
And all the missing people out there. Yeah, shout out to them. Most importantly, if you're watching, I hope you're found. There are a lot of cheaters right now in Call of Duty Warzone. What do you want me to say?
Oh, no, hold on. It's 4:20 right now. It's 4 o'clock.
Is it?
20 minutes. So 4:20 on 4:20.
Happy 420, everyone.
Happy 420.
It's 4:21 already. We missed it.
Oh, shoot.
It's okay. There'll be plenty of opportunities to celebrate. Like forever if you live in California because they don't care anymore.
But you know who's not celebrating? People playing Call of Duty Warzone.
That's right. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I thought you were going to say missing people.
No, I'm not going to continue.
And I was going to say, you don't know, really. They could be. Maybe that's why they're lost. They got too high. Call of Duty Warzone players on consoles God damn it, are opting out of playing crossplay with PC players because there are too many cheaters on PC. I think this is a fascinating story. This is something that I think literally everyone on Earth could have guessed the moment the first company announced that console players and PC players could compete in the same space. We knew instantly this is going to happen because PC players they're on some next shit, and you just can't. Like, I'm a console guy. We're town simpletons.
Yeah.
We move our sticks around.
Were cheating, like I wouldn't opt in to play with PC players.
Yeah.
I wonder if they even are cheating, or if like console players are just like, holy shit, I'm getting smoked. They've got to be cheating. There's no way that I'm getting killed this much. Absolutely not. Definitely cheating. Like, they probably just aren't good.
Well, I remember being like a kid and being bad at video games, and like my friends would be over and I'd be like, the game won't let me. The game won't let me win.
Well, it's interesting. We're also saying that like console gamers are turning off the feature to play against PC players, but it says it's not an easy. How is that not an easy task? Is it not just like a toggle? Or do you have to like get approved to like,
it might be a process. Like inside, like we covered a story earlier where, sort of inversely, there was actually like a complicated process that PC gamers had to go through so that they could troll people on some Jedi game. Do you guys remember?
Oh yeah, Jedi Academy.
Yeah, to get in and just like wreck people that were playing for the first time on Switch or something.
You have to get 50 headshots before you can turn it off. I mean, the problem for some games is it does limit the modes and the things that you can actually do in the game sometimes. So some people don't want to have to turn it off for those reasons. Like that happens. I play Fortnite split screen in duos, but if you want to play that, you have to play in crossplay. You can't play duo split screen on just consoles. So there are certain games have certain requirements and certain things you have to go through in order to not play crossplay.
The Eurogamer article that talked about this says if you have it turned off, when you try to look for a game, it'll give you a pop-up says, "Are you sure? Maybe you should turn on crossplay." And you say no, searching, and then if you can't find it still, they'll pop it up again and be like, "Are you sure? You can turn it back on." The author of this article says that with crossplay disabled, it took them 3 minutes to find a match. With crossplay enabled, it took them 30 seconds. So if you want to wait longer in the queue, then go for it. But if you're really impatient, then yeah, having crossplay on is probably the way to go. But you're going to get cheaters.
Yeah, I mean, you'll end up playing more matches because you'll get killed more quickly. But yeah, that sucks, man. Like that's kind of a bummer because I feel like we've been asking for crossplay for years now. Like Jonathan, you and I are on a PlayStation show every week. Shout out to Podcast Beyond. We were covering all the stories when Sony was not going anywhere near anything like that, and they finally folded on almost all of it and kind of broke down the walls a little bit. And now we're realizing maybe it's not exactly what we wanted. I think what we wanted was to kill people on Nintendo Switch. That's what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. We wanted to kick people's asses on Switch, which you can't do in Call of Duty Warzone because they don't have Call of Duty on Switch. We didn't want to get our asses kicked by PC cheaters. That wasn't part of the deal.
There's a happy medium between, opening it up so that you can play with friends who are playing on Xbox or playing on Switch and playing on PC versus going up against people who can more easily facilitate cheating. Because with this particular case, these are cheaters that Activision and like the Call of Duty team have taken out of the game. Like this is 70,000 cheaters that they have decided to get rid of. But these cheaters now have access to all of these console players to essentially cheat against. So I think it's one of those things where it's like the devs have to obviously put more time and more work into creating these options, but to give people the chance to say, I want to crossplay with just PS4 and Xbox, or I want to crossplay with just PS4 and Switch, I think is like the ideal, but that's probably logistically a lot harder to develop.
I think they're gonna have a hard time because I know that they have ways to block your IP address and stuff like that, but you can also you can change your IP address or reroute it and do all kinds of other crazy stuff if you know what you're doing. And there isn't really any repercussions for cheating if you can just keep creating new free accounts on these like free to play games. So as far as like PC goes, they're always gonna run into that. This guy Corey, he makes like a good point. He says PC Master Race people always going on about how superior their FPS game skills are on PC thanks to the mouse, but they still be cheating against console gamers. The absolute state of them. Like, how can it be both? How can you be like superior and also have to cheat? They should make it harder for themselves. They should play on hard mode.
I agree. I totally agree.
I'll be impressed then.
Yeah, no, it's a tough world to live in. I hope everybody finds a way to beat those cheating PC players up. I don't know what you're supposed to do with those guys. Like, honestly, the free account thing is like the thing that totally trips me up, because I'm like, this is solvable, but this is like, it's like cockroaches or rats. Like, they're just gonna keep showing up. So, anyway, we had another fascinating story this week about the Animal Crossing turnip black market. As some of you know, this game, from its first few days, if you've been playing it, went from this sort of like laid back, kind of joyful item trading simulator with friends to this aggressive turnip reselling game. Like, it basically it completely changed course, because I think people realized pretty quickly in Animal Crossing, people start asking you for money, and you got to pay them if you want to get a better house. And once you get through those first few loans, you're faced with stuff like 700,000, 1.5 million, 2.5 million is your final loan you pay off in this game. So it gets pretty ridiculous.
You even consider all the like bridges and terraforming and
moving stuff around. Yeah.
It's like when I finally got to that point, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to come up with this cash?
Well, a good way to do that would be to travel to your friends' towns and go on Twitter or the internet, or you can look into this brand new website that was basically just launched, which is essentially a turnip black market. Twitter user Ninja, a 25-year-old software developer who has previously built tools for games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii, reverse engineered Animal Crossing's code using the NSA's free reverse engineering software, Ghidra. By the way, I feel like it should cost a few bucks to have reverse engineering software. I don't know a lot about this. I feel like the NSA should maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the
NSA.
Yeah,
God knows the government needs some money right now.
Right? Like Photoshop is expensive, and these guys are just giving this shit away for free.
The NSA believes that nobody should have privacy to their information, so they, of course, would be free.
Yeah. Okay. So he basically reverse engineered an exe file inside of the Nintendo Switch that would, in theory, allow him to figure out all the game's various secrets, including turnip price algorithms. In practice, things weren't so simple. So it goes into this whole thing about his code that he built out. But ultimately, he ended up with this online website called Turnip Profit. Get it? And which was created by a guy named Mike Bryant, which lets users use an algorithm to determine with a fair amount of accuracy what their turnip prices will be throughout the week. This is insane. Like, this is... I just want to say, I've been beating this drum a lot. I time travel when I play this game. I change the clock and the system settings. I get so much shit from people for doing that. So much shit, because they're like, "Oh, you're not supposed. It's a laid-back game. You're supposed to go on the NSA's website and download an exe file, and then create an algorithm which tricks the animals into thinking that they're like lines of code in which you can rip off like a poor, impoverished boar who has a plate on her head full of turnips. Like, that's okay, I guess. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. Like, I'm sorry if I sound like fucking Alex Jones right now, but that's ridiculous.
The thing is, the Turnip Profit site, it's like a predictor thing, right? You're not actually getting the highest profit by using the site. You just find out early if you're going to get it. Or the way you can get the highest price is the Turnip Exchange site, which people have set up, where you can, if you have a high price, then you can set up a queue and have anybody show up and come visit your island and sell their turnips at your island. And
insider
that
trading.
part, that exactly, that's insider trading.
It's completely destroyed the economy of Animal Crossing.
It has.
Because one, you can almost always guarantee that you'll probably find a decent price. Whether within your own friend group, like we at IGN have a Slack channel where we talk about our prices every day, find out who has the best, and we all work to, share the profits and everything. But it almost makes the money acquisition pointless, because if you can just go on this site, you're going to probably find someone whose island you can go to get a good price. And then what was the point of having to go through this in the first place.
You know, Jonathan, did you ever work on the wikis team?
No, I did not.
Well, we have a wikis team here, and like I sort of like don't see the difference, right? Like these people that are using these websites, they're just working smarter instead of working harder, right? It's no different than looking up cheats on IGN or anywhere else.
Well, it's different.
How you got the information is immaterial. The reality of it is, it's a game that people can play in whatever way that they choose. Like, how are you going to judge Brian? You're going to judge him for doing this, but not judge him for time traveling. Man, where do you draw the line?
Exactly.
I'm not judging anyone. I do this every day.
Who's the arbiter of
I'm just saying
economy manipulation in Animal Crossing?
It makes it pointless compared to past games, because this was like a whole thing where you had to rely on yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Or a very limited number of friends. And now it's just the doors are wide open.
Well, I can tell you why I was judged for time traveling. It's pure seething jealousy. People want that's really, it's because like I have a cool ass house, and people were like, "How you have that cool house?"
Cool stuff. You keep putting stuff on Twitter, and I'm like, "Shit."
Yeah,
awesome.
but they think it's just from. It's not just time traveling. You don't get creativity from time traveling. That comes from within you. That comes from your heart. I want to point out one more crime in this, which is bribery. This sentence here: Turnip Exchange lets users either host their own island or request to visit another player's island. Many island hosts are also using their island's card on Turnip Exchange to ask for some sort of compensation for entry to their island, often in the form of bells, specific items, or recipes. This is what the Sopranos did. Like,
dude, they got bouncers too. When you show up at the island, they're like blocking the way in, and they're like, "I'm sorry, you need to pay your tithe before you come in here and try to manipulate this turnip market."
I've done it like 3 times, like let people come to my island via Turnip Exchange. I never set a price. I'm like, tips appreciated, not necessary. And often the goodness of people's hearts, they leave stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I trade with friends. I don't demand anything. Sometimes I just mail people stuff because I think they'd like it. You know, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, anyway, there's no matter what your stance on it is, I think everybody can agree the online part of this game is god awful, and it's terrible. The online infrastructure of Animal Crossing is just so tedious, and I hate how you have to ask Orville, like you have to go through like 4 sets of questions to visit your friend's island. It's insane.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, if
visiting someone will go online. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
I do want to go online. So then, what kind of online? How do you want to go online? Oh, I want to go this way. Oh, great. Do you have a code? Yeah. What's the code? Okay, great. Let me check if it's open. Oh, okay. Oh,
they do that every time you do anything. If you want to sell something or buy something or talk to somebody.
Yeah, it's insane. It's
Animals are chatty.
So much.
Anyway, if you have 1 million bells, you can upgrade your house. But if you have $2,000 in real life, not Animal Crossing bells that maybe you got through bribery or other illegal means, such as insider trading, you could have bought a $2,000 Death Stranding jacket, but it sold out immediately. A German brand named Acronym launched a custom Death Stranding jacket for almost $2,000, and it sold out in seconds. The sleek techwear coat arrives thanks to a collaboration between Kojima and Acronym's co-founder, Errolson Hugh, who you may recognize from Death Stranding as the weather station occupant who gives the player delivery assignments. Legendary Metal Gear art director Yoji Shinkawa also worked on the jacket's design. So some really cool people got involved in this thing. The core design of the hardshell Gore-Tex jacket derives from the J1A GT, an acronym first developed at the dawn of the millennium. The custom version has been modified. If you fall asleep in the middle of this, congrats. This is Death Stranding, the paragraph. My body may be present, but my soul is on the beach. I'm already dead, the description reads. It's got
Can you believe that description? That is just so pretentious.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know Kojima. Like,
good Lord.
Yeah. And so
it's very Kojima.
The thing about techwear is that it's generally obnoxiously expensive, but a thing about it is that it does usually have sort of equal pairings of form and function, whereas like a lot of other very expensive fashion is just form, right? But a lot of techwear basically has, you know, it's like basically thermal dynamic, or it's heat safe or cold safe, or, you know, you could burst it into flames or shoot it with guns and it'll be okay. I don't know if this jacket can do all those things.
I didn't know what techwear was before I read the story and had to look it up. we were talking to we have a news meeting every morning, and Sid was telling us about it, how it's like really popular, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So I look it up, and it's just cargo shorts that are like $1,000.
Yeah, but
like
you
really expensive joggers. Maybe are they like Kevlar or something? Can you really
Mostly.
shoot them or stab them? Or also, what makes that tech? Do they?
Yeah, so like I know that like Columbia, the not the country, the jacket company, basically they were partnering with Lucasfilm for a couple years in a row to create like basically high end like jackets that were modeled after stuff in Star Wars. So it'll be like Han Solo's jacket that he wore on Hoth, and it's like screen accurate, but also it's got like Mylar coating inside and like straps and pockets and all this extra doodads and whistles and stuff like that to help justify the $600-$700 price. I will say $2,000 is definitely on the very high end of what this of where techwear can go.
Well, you see, Brian,
for the average consumer.
Pre-installed with software that goes onto eBay and it pre-buys all the Switch inventory that comes online and then sells it to other idiots for $750. So in the end, it pays for itself.
That's true. It does have BirdBot built into each sleeve, so that's very helpful.
It just looks like a bunch of pockets. There's just a lot of pockets on this jacket. I'm just scrolling through images, and they're just showing off their pockets.
They got a yellow pocket here that's supposed to look like where BB is.
Yeah. But then that pocket you can put back into the jacket in another pocket. It's just pockets.
Pocket.
Yeah.
Apparently what the jacket can do is it protects you for when you fall for the 600 times in the first 5 hours of wearing it.
There is this weird image where
that game.
He's like, he has his AirPods sticking to his collar. There's like this, I don't know what, do you know what I'm talking about? It's called Sound Force Lock. I don't know how those AirPods are sticking to his neck.
Magnets, dude.
Is it magnets?
I don't know. Flexing Mecha says, when does the DLC for the jacket come out? That's a great question.
The Rob Liefeld expansion.
Panahero says there are solar panel bank clothes, he believes. So like maybe they do have like magnets on them or like chargers or something. You like stick your phone to your jacket and it just like charges automatically. If you have a coat like this, you probably have more than one phone, so it probably has a place to put all three of your phones.
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's
like,
fair.
If you have this much tech, like, why do you need this jacket? Like, are you going out into the wilderness for days at a time and like really need your tech as well? Or because most people that have this much tech, they go to offices.
Yeah.
People that buy this stuff don't go to work, man. They don't have jobs. They like inherited a shit ton of money. They gotta spend it on something.
Well, then that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's like if there's like the circle of people who go camping and the circle of people who go to work, these guys are in the middle and the circles are really far from them and not touching them in any way. So it's a Venn diagram that basically doesn't exist. It's
higher. It's higher on the social class tree too. Yeah.
I used to work in West Hollywood, and there's this guy just always cruising around there. This jacket is for him. He'd be on like a scooter that was kind of like a weird sleek version of a Segway that I've never seen before. It's probably incredibly expensive. And attached to it was a laptop, and he had haptic gloves on and like Google glasses and like 2 different headsets. Right, and like all kinds of like phones and shit on. The guy was like a RoboCop, basically.
Where was he going?
I don't know. He would just like go back and forth to different coffee shops and pretend to be busy. Because you'd never see him go anywhere else.
I mean, honestly, this jacket would be really good for like a delivery person, which is basically what Sam Porter Bridges is. So, I think this is ideal.
The world's richest delivery person that's just doing it for like just to see how the people live.
For the clout.
Yeah, for the clout.
It's ridiculous. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to segue to this, but speaking of ridiculous costumes, Batman has been wearing them for years, and Darren Aronofsky wanted to create a Batman film called Batman Year One, and recently in an interview talked about almost casting the Joker himself, Joaquin Phoenix, as the Batman in this movie, which would have been like one of those sort of weirdest parallels, I think, in like pop culture history. says many years before he won the Academy Award as Best Actor for the title in Joker, Joaquin Phoenix was director Darren Aronofsky's first choice to play the title role in his Batman Year One screen adaptation. While that has been public knowledge for a few years now, Aronofsky recently revealed who Warner Brothers wanted for the role and ultimately why his vision of Batman origin movie fell apart long before Christopher Nolan tackled it in Batman Begins. So yeah, this was pitched and written before the original, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight trilogy was ever even a thing.
Okay, so
the studio wanted Freddie Prinze Jr. So that's just to tell you how old this screenplay is. This was back, and I'm not talking on Freddie Prinze because he's one of the nicest people in the world, but this is back in a time where they thought that was the guy that would be Batman, right?
I have a hard time putting myself in that mindset.
Yeah, I honestly don't ever see that in any history, is seeing Freddie Prinze Jr. as Batman.
Well, okay, so we don't know exactly what year this Batman Year One movie was, right? They just said before Batman Begins.
It's been a while. It's been a long time since they started.
2002. Is that the number that I'm seeing in the corner of my vision?
Yes.
Yeah. 2002, which is also when Scooby-Doo came. So
wow.
Imagine the studio
there's a lot of Bruce Wayne in his Fred performance. I get it.
Yeah. That'd be wild. Fred Jones as Batman.
That's insane.
But what's Joaquin Phoenix doing around that time?
He might have been in the what's that movie that he was in with Heath Ledger where they're like jousting or something?
Knight's Tale?
A Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Wasn't he also in?
Oh yeah.
What's the Roman warrior movie
Gladiator.
that he was in?
Gladiator. He was in Gladiator in the year 2000. So that's around the look he would have had, I guess, age-wise.
Dude, either of those would have been bonkers. I just can't wrap my either of those things being true.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I can see 2002 Joaquin Phoenix over 2002 Freddie Prinze Jr. Or there's really no year where I could picture Freddie Prinze Jr. doing this. But Phoenix, like when I pictured him in my brain, he's still the Joker right now because that's the most recent thing I've seen him in. Mm-hmm. And so that didn't compute at all. Like nothing in my brain was like, oh, that's a good Batman. But Freddie Prinze Jr. has always been like way too nice. He doesn't really come off as like a brooding dude. He's like a good guy, like.
Well, that's what Aronofsky also says, right? Like he was kind of sick of this like campy, cheesy Batman, and I guess that's what the studio still wanted to go for. Right. And that's why he wanted Joaquin Phoenix.
That was still making money for them at the time. I don't think Aronofsky really cared. So the thing about Aronofsky, we were talking about this earlier, is he had done a bunch of movies where his crew was basically like not getting paid. And he was really chasing like a big budget blockbuster film with like a huge budget so that everybody could like get some kind of payoff at the end of all this, because they were on a path where they were like they were really popular at film school, and that's about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he still kind of is that way, right? He never really did exactly break out of it. He tried and it didn't go so well.
With what?
Oh man, I'd have to
Noah.
Noah. Yeah, that was
Noah's the biggest budget thing he did.
Yeah, and it was a disaster.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like he's really great at like smaller pictures. Like he's like one of my favorite directors when he's like in his lane. But Batman, I don't feel like even if he did take it really seriously, is exactly his thing. And
I think
him trying to cast Joaquin Phoenix at that time or any time, just goes to show that I don't know, neither of them might have been right in the situation, because that's an actor who just like doesn't really go with this sort of stuff, and in fact, like him being Joker was through the lens of those guys wanting to make that movie, and it didn't matter if the Joker was in it at all. In fact, if you remove Joker and Batman from that movie, it's still the same movie.
Yeah, right. But we're talking about 2019 Joaquin Phoenix. This is 2002 Joaquin Phoenix, back when he did Gladiator, which is like Ridley Scott.
He's always been weird. Do you remember when he wrote Goodbye on his hands and like said he was going to be a rapper? And like did that whole
that was for a bit. Like that was for a different movie.
That was a bit that went on for like 2.5 years.
That was the bit. That was the long con, and he got you good.
He's crazy.
He got you good, Jared.
You can't make a Batman movie with that guy.
I actually, when I hear stories like this, I think about like all the sort of like pop culture bullets we've dodged over the years. Like I file this next to the Nicolas Cage Superman movie that we never got. You know, there was that weird. You guys have seen that, right? That photo that like that he's got this like supremely low cut a Superman shirt on that just shows it's like it's almost like a tank top, and it's just Nicolas Cage's face on top. Yeah, and it glows. And then there was the Kevin Smith take on Superman that we almost got as well. Like, keep in mind, this is all like Daredevil, you know, post Catwoman era, pre MCU essentially. I mean, when did the MCU launch? Was that 2009? Yeah, so we were years before that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the only thing we had in between those things was basically the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, which is, I would say, like a good movie, an amazing movie, and a not so great movie. That's the way I rank those films. But yeah, I don't know. Time and a place. There was also, we did get the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie. That's an actual thing that exists.
That's real. We're in that reality, Brian.
We got two of them.
We got two of them, and you can't remove those from time.
Nope.
They're always stuck there.
Nope.
So,
yeah, but could you imagine Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider in the current MCU? Like him popping up in like Doctor Strange 2.
I would love that. They should.
That would be great.
They should do that as a bit.
He like leaves.
Oh yeah.
Especially with Sam Raimi directing.
Oh, just like give us a cameo, something.
That would actually be really good.
Dude, they're
gonna do multiple timelines. They can like have like Thomas Jane Punisher show up and like
John Bernthal.
They can have the Nick Fury that was portrayed by Hasselhoff. All the great.
You can throw the Fox X-Men in there. Anyway, we have some extremely stupid comic book pitches, but it seems like everybody in the world, in history of creativity and arts and film, has had an idea for a Batman movie.
That's right.
Including Nick Pizzolatto. I love his name because it sounds like a child picking his favorite Italian food to eat. Nick Pizzolatto. Yeah, a lot of pizza.
A lot of pizza.
You never had pizza flavored gelato?
He's essentially the like writer showrunner from True Detective. I believe, was he involved in all 3 seasons?
Yes, it's his baby.
Yeah, he was the creator.
Okay, because I rank those in sort of similarly in the way I do the Dark Knight trilogy, but in a different pattern where it's like great, very not good, and then pretty good.
I haven't seen the third one yet, but the first one is very good. And I credit most of that to the director, Keiichi Fukunaga, who's also directing the next Bond movie. And so I'm really excited for that. Anyway, Nick.
That's right.
A lot of pizza.
Yeah, Nick Lotta Pizza wanted to make a Batman movie. He said basically that he had his overall opinion of the Caped Crusader Psychosis is he said that Batman is the only character in the world I didn't create that I want a shot at, and is the only piece of geek culture I have any affinity for. Batman's no-kill policy is valid and should always remain, but the policy does not exist because killing makes him as bad as them or some kindergarten bullshit. That never held water at all. Batman's no-kill policy exists because Batman's real, and eternal enemy is death. Death is his real enemy. Is everyone still there? Do I have you all still?
You lost me with the beginning of his quote.
Yeah.
Batman is the only character in the world that I didn't create that I'd like a shot at. Mm-hmm. Give me a break.
the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's up. I think he's up there with Vince Vaughn in True Detective season 2 in terms of some of the most iconic.
He's almost there. But it's like,
Yeah, Vince Vaughn in season 2 of True Detective.
Oh god, the character is so bad.
He says he looks directly to the camera and he goes, "Never eat, even when you're hungry." What? That was written by and then they shot it and they were like, "Yep, that's," and he memorized it in his car with weird.
Vince Vaughn was also in a movie where he beats up people in a prison that same year. So
that movie kicks ass.
Anything that was on the script. That movie does rule.
Hell yeah! Assault on Precinct 13th, or no? What is it called? Is that what it's called?
I don't know. Look it up.
Cell block.
Yeah. Attack on Cell Block 94 or whatever.
Yeah.
That movie fucking rules. Nick Lotta Pizza also says Batman's money doesn't matter. It's merely a convenience. It actually adds to his heroism. His wealth means he could have done literally anything else than what he devotes his life to. Batman's superpower is not money. Batman's superpower is that he thinks of everything, and he has the strongest will of the species. And if he had some time to strategize, Batman could credibly defeat God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's always kind of been the character of Batman, though. Like, people said Batman is like one of the strongest people, or no, one of the smartest people in the DC universe. I don't know if he, could defeat God. And I don't understand. I still don't understand the death quote. Batman's real and eternal enemy is death.
If his real enemy is death, why does he got to fight God?
If his real enemy is death, why does that mean he can't kill? I don't understand any of that.
Death is in the Marvel universe anyway. I don't really get how that overlaps. Also, he did kill, like, back in the early days. Batman didn't always have that policy, so
yeah. Doesn't he have a gun in like some of the older comics?
In some of the super early comics, he used a gun. Yeah,
that's just something that we all decided was canon, like sort of later after the fact. But like, I don't know. Honestly, he'd be better off if he did.
I mean, he kills people in Batman vs Superman, right? And everybody wants that movie to be longer or whatever. So,
yeah, they sure do.
They sure do. Speaking of dying, Bill Murray almost died in the original script for Ghostbusters 3.
No, Bill Murray's character
is
fictional character, not the real William Murray. His character, his made-up persona.
Only because he wouldn't do a third movie. He was like, no. And they're like, make you like a ghost. And he was like in Star Wars or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's like, maybe.
Guys, it's not a great segue unless at least one of you tell me I'm wrong, and Jonathan rolls his eyes and face plants so hard he almost falls out of a chair. So yeah, at one point Dan Aykroyd had a script for Ghostbusters 3, which I think sort of became, we all sort of call the video game Ghostbusters 3. And in that, Bill Murray's character Peter Venkman was supposed to die. Jeremy, you put this story in here. Are you proud of doing that?
I just thought it was interesting to go along with all this other, like, what we're talking about is a bunch of movies that didn't get made.
I know it's just the Ghostbusters thing. I'll be totally honest with you. I went from like enjoying these movies as a child and having the pillowcases and the action figures, and I love the cartoon and the cereal. And then I grew up and I was like, these are pretty good. And then the most toxic argument in internet history happened, and I was like, I don't want to talk about these films anymore.
we would have been better off if we would have just left the Ghostbusters in the 80s, probably.
Yeah, seriously. And that's no disrespect to the all-women one or the new one they're making, but I don't really need any of it. I just wish all of it was just like maybe remake the toys every couple years.
This new one, I think, is for a new generation. I think this third one was intended to be also. Like, they actually had all new characters that they sort of like passed the baton onto.
Yeah.
Which, it says here that like one of the lead is some character named Frankie, who is a body-pierced, tough New Jersey punker. Which is like so in that time. But the thing about it is, it being written by Dan Aykroyd was probably what killed it, because Harold Ramis is the one that sort of like was really the one that would do the punch ups in that group.
Yeah,
and like maybe if he had given it a pass, like we might have been in a better place. But Dan Aykroyd was in a like nothing but trouble headspace.
Yeah,
I love that movie, but that's not for all audiences, and certainly not for like mainstream audience.
I do too. I think that's one of the worst fun movies ever made. So yeah, the movie was supposed to be called Ghostbusters Hellbent. 1999 is a weird. I don't like most movies from 1999 are bad. Like they haven't aged well. The CG is not great. Like any movie that has like a 90s punk rocker with piercings from New Jersey that's just like that would have not aged well. Yeah,
it worked for Night of the Living Dead 3.
That's true. That is a cult classic.
Yeah.
So yeah, the original characters only have supporting roles, as the story smartly set out to set up a new generation. The reason Venkman was more marginalized in the Hellbent script was because Bill Murray repeatedly refused to participate in the project, and the thought was he might come back if only he had to shoot for a day or two. So I think I'm reading this as sort of like the Harrison Ford Force Awakens thing, where he's like, I'll be back if you kill me.
Yep.
Let the boy throw me off a bridge.
Well,
with a hole in my chest.
this guy Rome85 makes a really good point. He says you could just like novelize it or graphic novel it or like animate it or something like that. Sounds fun enough. It's probably stupid, but you know, whatever. The Ghostbusters video game's a perfect Ghostbusters 3. It'd be kind of fun if we made a little animation of it. Maybe we'll just kind of put that in our pocket for later. You know,
I like that idea a lot.
We make like a little cartoon for it.
Yeah.
We've talked about doing that for stuff for the new channel that we're working on, which I've mentioned on the show before.
There's that one channel that did the Duel of the Fates script too.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that you could just be like, you know, I don't want to watch a whole movie of this. I'll watch like a 3-minute cartoon of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of short form content that you can consume on IGN.com, did you guys see our little goofs today?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A lot of people asking about that in the comments here. There's
is it April Fool's or what? Like, is that today?
I don't know, man. It could be. It could be April Fool's. It could be.
I can't even tell what's happening right now.
for some reason, despite how ridiculous that XXL trailer is, people are all asking us if it's real in the chat, like this entire hour that we've been on. No,
really?
It's a goof. It's a goof.
Yeah, it's a goof.
It literally says a shitload of ports and bigger graphics on it. What do you think?
Did one of the so we pitched this months ago and it came together with a lot of people working on it, but one of the jokes we pitched, I don't think it made it in there, was that we wanted the tagline to be, instead of go big and go home, it was go home and go big.
Yeah, I love that. I miss it. These would have looked really different if we had been in the studio to finish them up, but we do these kind of from home. I think they came out really fun. I think they would have been better on April Fool's, but you know, the whole internet was being such a narc about April Fool's Day this year, which was really weird because normally April Fool's is like a really fun day for IGN.
I agree. Yeah, we have like a very like rich history of doing really awesome, fun stuff on April Fool's. But the thing is, like, my philosophy about sort of like joking people on the internet is like there's the really mean kind, which is the thing we're going to lie to you about the thing you want, and then you're going to find out it's not real. And I think that's like a bad way to do a joke. But then there's we're going to lie to you about the thing you want, but our version is so dumb that you won't want it, but you'll laugh with us. Like when we're like we made a fake Mandalorian season 2 trailer, which like I won't spoil, but there's a thing that happens at the end, which you totally wouldn't want to see happen on the real show. And so by the time you get to that point, you're like, ideally you're not mad that you got tricked. You're more like, oh, you got me. That's so dumb. I'm so glad that's not real. Like, you want it to be so preposterous that you're relieved that they didn't actually film that, and then you don't have to cancel your Disney Plus subscription. Same thing with the new Xbox. Like, you don't want one to be so big that you need your friend's truck to bring it home. You want that to be fake. And so, yeah, like I'm torn on it because I think a lot of people. There was that DuckTales trailer for like a fake DuckTales game on April Fool's Day, which we all got really excited about because it was gorgeous. It was like a 2D animated DuckTales, the TV show video game. And the next day they were like, hey, it's not real, but that was a real pitch that we did one day, but they're not making it. And you're like, oh, that's worse than like
I wish it was just a joke.
Yeah, I wish it was just a joke. Like now I know it was almost real. With that sucks even more.
Well, I'll just say, like, we didn't intend for this to like misinform anybody who's just coming here for information. But that said, you know, we did have a lot of fun making these, and they did turn out pretty well, and they're doing really well. 420 seemed to make the most sense, just because there wasn't really anywhere else to put it. If it wasn't going to be on April Fool's Day, and if you know, the other stuff that we've been working on obviously has been pushed back as a result of everything that's happening. We figured if anybody was going to be open-minded about something like that, it might be today of all days.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another day coming up, right? Like, there's no other graduation day, like Mother's Day. Like, what's coming up? 4th of July. Like, happy 4th of July. There's a big expo.
Yeah.
Don't blow off your hands outside with the fireworks.
It was the only other holiday stupid enough to put something like this up.
Sure.
So what do you want? What do you want?
That's true. This is a very stupid holiday. But thank you all for joining me. on this incredibly stupid holiday. We had a good time today. We had some really good funs.
Happy 24.
Yeah, happy 420 to everybody out there. Enjoy it safe, responsibly. Don't go to any parties or go to the beach. You could probably get your treats delivered if that's what you need. Food delivery, support your local businesses. Get a big sandwich, get a 6-foot party sub. Eat it by yourself.
Ooh, that's right.
Get 2 or 3 4XL pizzas. Treat yourself, take care of yourself. And have a great night and be safe. And thank you so much for watching News, Games, and More. We'll be back same time tomorrow with a different variety of people, equally as stupid and probably as 420. So I hope you have a wonderful evening and good night. And thanks for watching. Mwah.
Bye. See you in hell.
See ya.
Whoa.